Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tom's Gadget Garage. In today's video, we're going to be cruising around on the original Ausom Leopard, but in a seated configuration. Now over the last several months, I've gotten tons of questions about seated scooters, the pros and cons, so I figure what better way to go over all of those than ride around on one on this glorious Sunday morning. So without further delay, let's jump into this ride. Now before we jump into our ride, I do want to give you a quick overview of this scooter. So as you can see, it is in its seated configuration right now. The nice thing about this Leopard is that it can be used as a standing scooter or a seated scooter. And if you want to use it in the seated configuration, all you have to do is bolt down this seat post and you're good to go. In terms of the seat, it is a suspension seat post, so you definitely have some comfort there. And then of course, it's got some really nice padding as well as some springs in the seat itself. Now this seat is height adjustable, as are the handlebars on this scooter, so it does accommodate riders of various heights, as well as riders in both that seated as well as standing configuration. Working our way towards the back of the scooter here, we do have our 10-inch by 3-inch hybrid tire, so you can ride both on and off the beaten path. I did make a comprehensive end-to-end review of this scooter, so I'll link it in the description in case you want to watch that. But this scooter is equipped with manual disc brakes, and it's also got a 1,000-watt motor in the rear, which honestly provides plenty of power for this scooter. You've also got coil spring suspension in the back, as well as the front here. And so that definitely adds another level of comfort to your ride. At the rear of the scooter, you also have this brake and tail light combo. So if you're going to be cruising around at night, you'll definitely get some extra visibility there, as well as during the daytime. Now this scooter is also equipped with turn signals, and you can actuate those here. Left, center is off, right. There you go. You've also got a horn up front, which is super loud. Definitely won't have any issues getting people's attention with that. At the front of the scooter, you also have this headlight assembly, which is also going to be really important for nighttime riding. Up top here in the cockpit, of course, you have those turn signals and horn, as I showed you. You also have your manual brake levers on the left and the right. You've got an on and off switch. You've got your display here, which shows you all the important information like your voltage, your battery remaining, your speed, trip, the whole 9 yards. You've got a key to turn the scooter on and off. And then of course you've got this thumb throttle here, which is very smooth. It gives you really granular control of the scooter. And then of course you've got your power button here. And if you hit this power button 3 times, it'll actually take you into the advanced settings menu for this scooter. Now the Ausom Leopard is a folding scooter, so you can actually fold this thing up and put it in the trunk of your car. You've got a folding mechanism here, so you just untwist that. And then you've got a safety pin back here. You just pull that out. This will fold down. And then here in the rear, you've also got a folding seat post. So all you have to do is lift this lever here, and there's a button you can push, and then you can fold this down. Now, in order to kind of latch everything together so it stays put when you're loading this into your car, you will have to extend these handlebars to their maximum position, and you do have 3 adjustment points here. So you'll want to adjust them to the maximum position, and then fold that seat down and remove the seat itself. And then you've got this hooking mechanism here that'll actually hook directly into the rear kick plate of the scooter. So there are some extra steps when it comes to folding a seated scooter, but at the end of the day, it's just a couple extra steps, still really easy to get it into your car. And here's a quick demonstration of me getting this into the folded position. So you undo this latch here, then you fully extend these handlebars to the maximum position. You're then going to want to go ahead and remove this seat. And once that's removed, you undo this latch, you push this button in, and then you just remove the latch here. It's folded, and then you come up front. You can unscrew the latching mechanism, pull the safety pin, and then fold the handlebars down. And then of course you've got this, you make sure your screen is out of the way, and then you've got this locking mechanism here, and now you can pick up the scooter and load it wherever you need to. All right, so I went ahead and got the Leopard back in its riding configuration. So what we're gonna go ahead and do now is gear up and take this thing for a spin. So we are off to the races on this Ausom Leopard. One thing I'll mention is that it does have 3 speed modes, or 3 drive modes. Mode 1 will take you about 9-10 miles an hour. If you push the power button once, it'll take you into speed mode 2. This will take you up to 24 miles an hour, and it gets up to that speed relatively quickly. And for the adrenaline junkies out there, if you go into speed mode 3, depending on your weight, you can get upwards of 34 miles an hour. So definitely a lot of range in terms of speed options that you have with this scooter. Now, for the purposes of this ride today, I'll be cruising around in speed mode 2. Now, if you're curious what the range is on this scooter, in my tests, weighing in at around 204 pounds, I was able to get 35 miles of real world range cruising around in speed mode 2. So in terms of the pros and cons of a seated scooter, number 1 is going to be you're going to have a much lower center of gravity, and that's going to be very important for stability. When you're riding around on a scooter in a standing position, your center of gravity is much higher, which by definition you're going to have lower stability. And so if you're concerned about stability, falling over, maintaining balance, things like that, a seated scooter could definitely be a better option for you. Another benefit of having a lower center of gravity is you're going to have more control. You're going to have more precise control. You're going to be able to maneuver the scooter a lot better than you would in a standing configuration. Another benefit of riding a scooter around in a seated position is going to be comfort. Now, if you're going to be cruising around long distances, standing up the whole time might not be very comfortable for everybody. And so if you're looking to maximize comfort, getting a scooter with a nice seat, can go a long way. One thing I will mention about standing scooters is, foot position is very important. And, there's some scooters out there that are higher performance that do have, these rear kick plates like this scooter does. And so when you accelerate, you have something to push off of, to maintain your balance, keep you from flying back. But I will say that riding around, with one foot forward and the other foot on a kick plate isn't very comfortable, especially, if you start going, 15, 20 miles, you do get foot fatigue. And so being in a, seated position like this, it's very comfortable. You don't have to worry about any of that foot fatigue. Now, speaking of fatigue, when it comes to choosing a seated scooter, if you're going to be looking to maximize comfort, you're going to want to take a look at something that has a suspension. This Ausom Leopard here has a full suspension, both front and the back. It's also got that suspension seat post, as well as springs in the seat itself, which makes for a very comfortable ride. Now, if a full suspension scooter isn't in the budget, definitely make sure you at least have air-filled pneumatic tires, because those kind of tires will definitely help absorb some of that impact. As you can see, we're cruising around at about 24 miles an hour right now in speed mode 2, and things are very comfortable, very stable. Even at this speed, I can carve around here on the road with no concerns around stability. Now, another option that you might consider aside from a seated scooter is, an electric bike. And electric bikes are great because they do have those bigger wheels, which are going to give you some additional security when it comes to riding over rough terrain. Now, the one issue that you do have with things like e-bikes or just any regular bike is stepping onto that bike. If you have mobility issues, you have flexibility issues, whatever it might be, it's a lot harder to step onto a bike than it is a seated scooter. So with something like this Ausom Leopard, it's very easy for me to just step over the scooter, have a seat, and I'm off to the races. So now that we've gone over some of the positives about a seated scooter, what are some of the negatives? Well, with any scooter in general, you're going to have smaller tires, compared to a bike. And so you're definitely going to want to be hyper aware of irregularities in the riding surface. You can go over lumps and bumps, no problem, but if you've got, big potholes and things like that, you're gonna want to avoid those because with potholes and riding around with the smaller wheels, there's a much higher chance that you can get that wheel stuck in that pothole and end up falling over, which nobody wants to experience. Another con with seated scooters is that they're gonna be a little bit heavier than their standing counterparts. I think the seat assembly on this scooter is somewhere between 7 and 9 pounds. I'll put it on the screen when I get home and verify, but it does mean you're going to be carrying around a little extra weight. Now, if you're just going to park this thing in the garage and go cruising around, well, that's not a problem. But if you are going to have to, you know, fold this thing up and load it into the back of the car, well, you know, that's just another thing to consider. Here's a little demonstration of me carving around here on this road. And as you can see, it is very stable. Now, you don't want to go too crazy, especially if you're riding around on dirt surfaces. Just know that, you know, riding around on dirt is a lot different than riding around on paved surfaces. It's much easier to wipe out, especially considering you have two wheels. But as you can see, it's a very stable platform. When it comes to braking on a seated scooter, it's going to be a little bit different than it would be on a standing scooter. On a standing scooter, when you're cruising around, if you have to abruptly hit the brakes, I strongly recommend leaning back, putting that weight back. And the reason for that is that if you hit the brakes all of a sudden in a standing position and you don't lean your weight, you could end up going over those front handlebars. With a seated scooter, you're kind of stuck in this position. There's not a whole lot of leaning that you can really do. You can push yourself back a little bit, but you know, right now we're cruising along at around 20, 21 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and see what the brakes are on this scooter. So we're gonna go ahead and hit the brakes in 3, 2, 1, go. There we go. Yeah, you know, we're still able to stop really quickly. Just know that, you know, when you do that, just try as much as possible to put your weight back while still holding onto the handlebars, of course. That way, you can kind of counteract some of those forward moving forces when you hit those brakes. All right, we're gonna cruise down this little hill here very comfortably and right up into an incline. And this 1,000 watts of power has no problem coming up this incline. All right. Let's see, which way did we come from? I believe this way. All right. Don't want to get turned around here. This is actually the first time I've ridden in this area, and I am very pleased with this. Very relaxing, low traffic place to just cruise around. There we go. We hit a little bit of bump, and suspension did a pretty good job of absorbing that. Got another little incline here. We're able to handle that, no problem. Now, something else I do want to call out about stability, and this is not just for seated scooters, it's also for standing scooters as well as bikes. Let's say you're cruising along, and then all of a sudden, something runs out in front of you, and you want to jerk to the left. Well, let's see what happens when I jerk to the left. Scooter wants to collapse right. If I jerk to the right, scooter wants to collapse left. It's the same thing on the bike. If you don't believe me, definitely try it out at slow speeds and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So if I want to jerk to the left, scooter actually wants to collapse to the right. And there's something that, you know, as we ride these devices, you know, something happens subconsciously that we don't even recognize. But if I want to turn to the left, I slightly lean right and then turn left. If I want to turn to the right, I slightly lean left and then I turn to the right. If I just, you know, turn left by turning the handlebars like that, it's going to want to collapse in the other direction. And, you know, if you've seen some of the unfortunate videos of, you know, people crashing scooters and bikes because something darts out in front of them, one common denominator with all of those scenarios is that, you know, people are jerking to the direction that they want to go. And doing that's going to cause you to fall almost every single time. So if something is going to dart out, let's get a little straight area here. If something darts out to the right here, you have to quickly shift your weight to the right and then move left. Right and then move left. If you just move left, it's going to collapse over to the right and you're going to fall over. So here's another little demonstration of that stability. So if something were to run out in front of you from the right, you lean right, then move left. Something darts out in front of you from the left, you lean left and move right. And it's that simple. You don't want to just jerk in the opposite direction because you're going to be in a world of hurt. Now, we've been riding around for quite a while now, and I have to say I am still very comfortable on this scooter. No kind of fatigue to speak of at all whatsoever. I did mention that I was able to get 35 miles of range on my ride with this Ausom Leopard. And you know, an important call out here is that a lot of scooters have like these, battery status indicators on the screen. They might give it to you, in the form of a bar or maybe a percentage readout. Just know that a lot of times those readouts are not very accurate. I typically like to look at voltage. So if your scooter has a voltage readout, keep an eye out on that. Now this is a 48 volt scooter, so fully charged you're going to be just above 54 volts, and about the halfway point is going to be 48 volts. I like to be a little more conservative and consider the halfway point as being about 49 to 49.5 volts. 42 volts, you're basically going to be empty. And depending on the scooter, they might have that cutout be around 42 volts. It might be around 42.5, 43 volts. So definitely test that out before you go out on some super long range ride. All right, so what do I think of the Ausom Leopard as a seated scooter riding platform? Well, to be frank with you, I think it's an excellent riding platform for that purpose. With this scooter, you're going to get full suspension, which is going to really make this a very comfortable ride. You've also got plenty of power. You've got a 1,000 watt motor in the rear, which is more than enough to get you across flat ground as well as relatively steep inclines. Another thing to mention with this scooter is that you've got a tremendous amount of battery capacity at 20.8 amp hours. And given this is a 48 volt system, that's going to give you 998 watt hours of capacity, which, as I mentioned before, will get me upwards of 35 miles of real world range. And that's with me weighing in at 204, 205 pounds. Another added benefit of this scooter is that it does have a degree of portability. If you need to throw it in the back of your car, all you have to do is collapse the stem, collapse the seat, and you're good to go. And the whole package weighs under 70 pounds. And one final thing I want to mention about this scooter is going to be the price. I think as of the filming of this video right now, it is priced right around 700 bucks. And if you use the coupon, I'll include in the link in the description, it brings the price down even further. And you're honestly going to be hard pressed to find better value for your money on the market today. I don't know how Ausom does it, but they've got a feature-packed scooter here. You look at some commuter scooters out there that are priced around $800 to $1,000. They're really designed to be ridden around, on surface streets. With this Ausom Leopard, you do have the ability to cruise around both on and off the beaten path, which means you're going to have more use cases for this scooter. So I know I covered a lot of things with this scooter today. Let me know if I missed anything in the comments section below. Happy to answer any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns. I'll also include links to the full comprehensive review of this scooter, as well as our range test, hill climb test, the whole 9 yards. And as always, thank you so much for tuning into Tom's Gadget Garage. We'll see you next time.